Hi, everyone. I'm John Benjamin Hickey. I am going to be the panelist. Is that what we're calling me for this wonderful post-movie discussion about a movie I love very much, Monica, and these two amazing artists who brought it to life. I was just thinking before we came on, it's a while ago that I saw the movie, and it has stayed with me as it will stay with you guys. It's so rare when a movie about a family, which I think this is what this movie's about, or even a play about a family, whether it's like Fences, August Wilson, or Long Day's Journey into Night, which Patty's in London, Reasons to Go to London.
Yes, in March.
Or Andrea's exquisite movie, Monica. When you read it, you're like, well, that's not my family's experience. That's not what I experienced in my family. But because it's rendered so beautifully and so specifically true to what it is, it does that rare thing that a work of art does, and it becomes universal. And you, at the end of it, you're like, well, that's my family. Maybe we didn't love each other or hurt each other in the same way these people did, but those feelings are the same. And Andrea has achieved a really rare and sublime thing. How the hell did you do it? Tell us where the idea...
Thank you for these beautiful words, and thank you for doing this with us, John. It's such a pleasure to be talking to you. Well, the desire to explore and tell this story really came from a need to delve deeper into the complexities of what it means not to being understood, not to being seen, or being abandoned. I feel like anyone can really relate to that. It's something that is so inherently human, and it's something that not only affects the way we deal with one another, but also our sense of identity. And I think that through, as you mentioned, through the story of Monica, we can recognize ourselves, recognize certain parts of ourselves, or certain wounds, certain traumas that we all experience to a certain extent, and maybe understand more what happened and who we are, and that was really what was behind my urgency to create this world and to tell this story with my collaborators.
Was it specifically like, did you know trans people? Did you have this character in mind? Did she come, out of you fully, out of your imagination? How?
Yes, that's a beautiful question. Yes, in fact, Monica is inspired by the story of a very dear friend of mine, someone who I lived with when I first came to LA, actually, when I was just 20 years old. Such a beautiful person that was also still a very important part of my life. And I have to say also that, it's a character that I see myself in too, because of course, Monica is a trans person, but I think that, as I said, we can all recognize ourselves in her, but it does come from someone that I love deeply. Yes.
Patty, oh God, no, sorry, everyone. Sorry, that's me, and I don't know how to turn it off, so just give me a second.
Oh God, I'm so glad it's you, not me.
Oh boy. Okay, hold on. No.
Okay.
Okay, maybe I'll just silent. No.
John, we love you.
Forgive me.
Don't worry.
And it was a person I specifically...
Was it your agent?
Hopefully sending me a script, which is the question.
Was it your husband?
It was neither. It was a person I texted saying, please don't call.
Oh my God.
Patty, speaking of agents, there's nothing better than getting a great script. How did this come into your life, this project?
Well, the conventional way, which is always best. I had met Andrea at Marrakesh and given him an award alongside Martin Scorsese, and I presented him with Best Director at Marrakesh Film Festival. And, I had met him and knew him, and I knew he was the kind of director I wanted to work with, but it was several years later that I get a call from my wonderful agent, and I know that sounds oxymoronic, but he truly is extraordinary. And he said, Andrea Pallaoro has a film for you. He's just cast Trace Lysette as the lead. And I said, oh my goodness, oh my God, that incredible woman from Transparent. And so I said, you know, he sent it to me, and I read it, and you know, I thought at first, am I just going to be like sexy mom or some, you know? Thankfully, it was this really extraordinary, challenging, you know, death-defying part, and so much more. It's so much more than a sexy mom, and thank God, and because I've done enough of those, but well, maybe not. But anyway, so but I'll tell you this, John, I said yes to this faster than any single project I've ever received. It is never lost on me when you can maybe change the landscape of our industry, and the fact that a exceptional transgender actress would have the chance to lead a film, to tell her story, to be front and center, and I would be the secondary character. I would be her, you know, her backup singer, as I joke with Trace. You know, I joke that I'll be her backup singer any day. I'll be the wind beneath your wings, darling. And so I said yes very quickly, because I knew how important this film was. I did, and I don't say that lightly. And I also knew it would be deeply challenging. I knew I would be robbed of speech and body, two of the things, you know, John, we rely on most as actors. We have our physical presence, we have our vocal presence, and I had so few of those available in this part. I had to really rethink how I came to portray a character in a way I hadn't really thought before. And I've done a lot of work, and this part took me to a very, very new place in my life. Very new place.
It feels that way, having been a lifelong friend. It's a whole new side of you. I mean, it's one of those things where you see two such sublime performances, and a movie filled with them. The entire ensemble are just pitch perfect. But it really does beg the question, Andrea, what came first, Monica or Trace and Patty? You know, like, it just feels like they were just born to play these parts. I mean, Trace is giving really a star-making performance. And
I couldn't agree more. You know, and in fact, you know, the script was written first, and then the search for, you know, the person who could really embody this character and who I could sculpt this character with was a very long one, one that took over a year. I saw over 30 candidates for the role all over the world.
Wow.
And when I met Trace, you know, I knew that I'd found that one person I could do this with. I could bring this character to life. And, you know, I was looking for someone who could tap into her own truths and reveal those truths with, you know, the uttermost authenticity. And that's the great talent that Trace has, that is so touching to so many people who see her performance. Yeah. So yeah, that's how, you know, my collaboration with Trace started. And then Patty was immediately after, you know, and, you know, I have to say that, you know, from a director, you know, to be, you know, constantly, you know, surprised, you know, by, you know, the immense talent that your actors, you know, reveal day after day, is one of the most exhilarating things, you know. And this happens so many times on the set of Monica, you know, like, you know, when, you know, with the, you know, the raise of an eyebrow, you know, watching Patricia, for example, you know, in her most intense scenes reveal so much intensity and complexities. I mean, who can who can do that really, you know? And to have had the pleasure and the honor to create this film with these artists, you know, is the crowning, you know, achievement of a dream, really.
You know, John, every day on that set was, I remember, you know, we tend to kind of, it's funny, this movie has stayed with me more so than so many films I've done. And it's not that I don't love and admire and love the artists I've worked with in other films, but there was something about the unique nature of this film, the silence in this film, the quiet in this film that required us, you know, we didn't rehearse. Trace and I so often, you know, I've said this, we didn't have to discuss what we had for breakfast. We didn't have to talk about how we were, everything that we had within us as actors, as Patty and Trace, and then as Eugenia and Monica. That's what we had to bring every single day. We just had to get on the set. And there was a quiet on the set. There was a calm at times on the set that Andrea, you know, he's such a lifeline to us. He was a true lifeline, but we knew that he would guide us to the right place. And he is not the easiest, you know, he's not a simple director. You know, it's like these, and he's formidable and in the right ways. The set was always beautiful and conducive to bringing the best of us forward. And the right moments we had to bring in this movie. In other movies you work on, it's like you kind of know what the scene is, but often, John, we were discovering the scene in the moment, in the day, in that sense of where really, what is this scene? And it was such an awakening every day on the set where we were going. And
Patty, talk about that bathtub scene. I've seen you give many amazing performances over your career. I don't know if I've ever seen you reveal that much of yourself. It's an incredibly raw, painful, deep thing to see. And what was that day like? And what do you do to prepare for a day like that? Do you know, tell jokes before? Do you sneak a little vodka?
No. As much as I like
I know, I'm just kidding.
No. But you know, Andrea, John, that scene is one of the reasons I wanted to do this film, because I loved this rapprochement. I loved to have, I loved that this woman who was living in a certain kind of old-fashioned, somewhat conservative environment could find, you know, in the 9th hour of her life, at the very, very, very end of her life, could find unconditional love, could give her child peace, could die with peace. You know, the scene, you know, I think about that scene still now, and it's hard for me to really talk about openly, but the truth is, John, that scene is always in me, because every single day of my life, my parents gave me unconditional love every single day of my life. They still do, and they're with me. I know what that is. I know what it is when your mother or your father sees you and loves you, truly loves you, sees you for who you are, knows who you are, and loves you for exactly what they see in front of you. And I know that as Patty, and I truly love Trace. And so the art and life become one. And maybe that's why I didn't have to reach for anything. I just had to simply bring my truth of my life to
amazing
that moment.
That you drew from a source of power, as opposed to us to play such pain.
Yes.
You drew from a source of power that they live side by side.
Absolutely.
Love and hurt. And
And Andrea knew this, I mean, he doesn't meddle and step in and fussy about it. He just knew it.
But let me tell you that from my experience of that day, which is really something that is burnt onto my mind in such an indelible way, and not just of mine, but all my collaborators, because what Patricia and Trace created for us was something that had such a profound impact on all of us. We were all in tears, and when that happens, when there is a communal breathing, a communal crying, it's such a profound gift of catharsis. And that's a gift for anyone who can watch the film now, not just for us who experienced it on that set, but anyone. And I am so very grateful to them for that, because, the whole film for me was built around that particular scene, that was actually the first scene that I wrote. And, that moment is something really I will never forget.
Yeah, it's palpable. You can feel everything you're describing in that scene. This is where my lack of film intelligence might reveal itself. Andrea, you shot this in a very specific and unique way. It's almost like
aspect ratio, yeah.
And it's called something, portraiture or something. Describe what that is and why you chose to do it, because it's so deeply successful in a very
in fact, it's a very unusual aspect ratio. Is one that my director of photography, Kate Arismendi, and I created actually for this film, because it's not one that is used. It's a 1.2 to 1 aspect ratio, and it's a very square-like, very portrait-like. Really, it resembles portrait photography. And what it did for us, which was very, very important from the beginning, it was that it created, a sense of suffocation and enhanced that codependence between the characters, in particular between mother and daughter. And it also allowed us to pay even more attention to what is left outside of the frame. And that is a dichotomy, this between the psychological and the physical, what is inside and what is outside, that is like a revealing theme throughout the narrative as well. And so it was really, it came from a need to find the language that could articulate in the most eloquent way possible, our vision and how to penetrate the complexities of this relationship,
And you do it without
John,
words. Yeah, go ahead.
But quickly, in that there was something very freeing for all of us. We had to leave vanity at the door. We had to leave a sense of self, ego. I never knew what part of my body was on screen. I never knew. I never knew if I was in frame, out of frame. It just, there was a piece that came about. There was you had to relinquish, you had to give up all of what we hold dear as actors. We are vain, we are grabby, we are egotistical, we want the light. And this movie was really a communal effort. It really, I didn't know what part of me was in the scene, and it didn't matter. It just didn't matter.
I'm sorry, just to explain that. Is that because of the way you shot it, Andrea? The camera is in it's not somebody with the steady cam. But
it was also because of our strategy, because we didn't do coverage. But like most of the scenes are actually one single shot. There are cases which that it required multiple shots, but most of the times, we really achieved, this one shot per scene kind of approach, and that, forces us to, find the language and work all together, from the composition of the image, the use of sound, the performances, the set, the light, in a very organic way. The strategy and the approach was really dictated the energy on set, I think.
Last night I did a screening. Sam Rockwell interviewed me, did a Q&A with me, and his friends, and they were like, this is cinema. This is cinema. This is auteur. This is an auteur. This is what we are losing in our cinema language right now. This is what this movie has brought back. And it was really powerful, and to hear that from, really great actors. And so I don't know. I think that's what Andrea he has, a true voice. He doesn't make a movie. He's made his movie, and only his movie.
It's manifest in your editing as well. I'm curious because you were not afraid to linger on a face, an exquisite face with no words, telling a story just by watching them. And was that in your mind the way you edited it before you made the movie, or did that become manifest as you watched?
No, it was actually in the screenplay as well. It was something that I had already decided that was going to be the approach. But that it was mainly because my interest was to capture the internal worlds of these characters more than anything. It was to enter their thoughts, their emotions. And that's also why a lot of the film is really explored, and a lot of the characters are explored not through dialogue, but really by following them and by staying with them, by observing them. And so the editing and the pace of the film, follows that type of approach, of course.
I mean, John, so often these scenes, we had to just truly exist for. Wow. There's no editing to save us. We had to just exist for very, very long takes. It wasn't, we had to have such an internal life and be so present every single day that we were shooting, because nothing was going to save us.
Did you rehearse?
No. I actually, and I have a different approach with each actor I work with, but I felt that with both Trace and Patricia, it was actually best not to do that. That doesn't mean that we didn't spend a lot of time, talking about in the scenes and getting to know one another and building a sense of trust, which was very important. But then the actual rehearsal, no, we didn't. We discovered everything in the moment. And I wanted to be able to capture, the very first moment, that, two actors come together, on camera.
Yeah.
No, it was beautiful. And Trace is, so alive and present. And
was there a lot of conversation? You wrote a movie about a trans person. You are not a trans person, but you have them in your life and clearly had a very, very personal connection and story to tell. Was there a lot of conversation between you and Trace about who your trans person was, who she is? And
of course there were a lot of conversations about representation too, and conversations about what we were aware of, would this role would mean for so many people, and how to best portray that, and how to, give justice to, the trans community at large as well. Of course, this was something that was a very, very important and crucial part in the creation of the film as a whole.
I think it's important to say that as much as that is true, what you're saying, the movie never feels political.
Oh,
it feels like
absolutely. In fact, I have to be honest, that was never my intention. At least that was not what motivated me to go into this film and to create it and to make it with all my collaborators. But then it became political after, because, of course, representation matters, representation, visibility changes the way we think, the way we understand things, and so that. But I agree. Like this film was not motivated by that. Was motivated by a need to explore humanity and our relationships and who we are.
I don't know what the age range is of the people who are listening to this, so not many people will get this, but I just want to personally say, Patty, not since Art Carney and that cat in Harry and Tonto, a 1974 or 5 movie, have I seen such chemistry between an actor and an animal. Please just speak to that for just 1 second.
Well,
that dog.
The dog in the film is my beautiful Isadora Duncan Clarkson, my dog. I was supposed to have 2 little Volpes. Remember, I was supposed to have 2 little dogs. And Andrea, it took us a while to raise some money. And Andrea, I got to know Andrea. Whenever I was in LA, I had Izzy with me sometimes, and and then when I was here in New York, he would visit and he'd see Izzy. And he fell madly in love with Izzy, and he said, "Patty, I'm going to do a really bad Italian. I must have Izzy." And I said, "Andrea, she's not a show dog. She's like a New York City dog." But she had a quiet temperament. She was like a fawn. She's passed on since then. Sadly, she had an autoimmune disease. Sadly, but she was such our mascot. Everyone was so deeply in love with her on the film, and I gave every single person. Remember on the day, every single person on that film. When I left the film, I gave every single person an icon of Izzy, either in a shirt, a bracelet, a hat. Because
I wore mine to our premiere of the film. Do you remember?
Or the cufflinks I gave you.
Cufflinks.
She's a beloved creature, and that's Andrea. He wanted the truth. He wanted the real thing, and he got it. And he got the love of my life.
It's a good thing you're as good as you are, because she was a scene stealer. That is.
Yes.
Tallulah, don't act with children or animals.
Exactly. I know there's not a lot of time left, but I remember talking to you about this before. One of the other extraordinary things about the world of the movie is your production design. That house, which clearly there was money in that family at some point. Maybe how did you build the world of it? Did you do a lot of scouting?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. In fact, my production designer, my director of photography, my producers, and we were we shot this film in Ohio, and we scouted the whole region for over 2 months, before production started. And every choice was the result of very, very intense research, methodical research. Yes. So it was not easy.
Kate Arismandes, our DP, just shot the whole last season of Succession. I mean, she's just
an
exceptional female cinematographer.
And true artist, as well as our production designer.
She's an artist extraordinaire and a divine human being. So we lucked out. Yeah.
And that production design, that location, without getting political in your movie, one of the things that
tells a story. It tells the backstory of this family.
Absolutely. And also how dangerous the world is for somebody like Monica. Because, maybe she's safe enough in her home, although that's very unsafe in its own way. But as soon as she steps out into the world, there's such a sense of oh God, please protect her. Make sure, you capture that so beautifully. And this is a very prescient thing that's happening in our world that makes one of the reasons that makes the movie so important.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I feel like, what else do we want to talk about, guys? My phone hasn't rung again. So
I think we're good. I think we've covered everything. I think we're good. Let's keep it. Hopefully, people, I think we're good. I think we're
extraordinary.
But my wish is really that people can experience these performances, the gifts that they have given us, really, and get to know themselves in the process. you know, so through Patty and to Trace and through the rest of the cast. So that's my real wish.
And the story you tell, it's universal. All right, well, thank you.
Go back to your two dogs, John. Go kiss my puppies.
John, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for your.
And we need to go on that dinner. It was hopefully the next time I'm in New York.
And everybody else who's on this call. Andrea's taking us all to dinner.
Anyway, love you, Andrea.
Love you.
Love you. Bye.